All right, so Mr. Emmanuel, thank you very much. God bless you. Whatever that is for you would come in between our day. So don't worry at all. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to give our technicians some few minutes to set up the next section because we are going to have a plenary speaker come on stage to talk to us about something wonderful. Paul, who just left the panel section, will be coming on stage to talk to us about, let me go over that so that you can get it. He'll be talking to us about redefining project portfolio management with OKRs. So let's give our technicians a little bit of time for them to get ready. All right, so they're good to go. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite author, speaker, and then also transformation consultant Paul Oppong, who is coming on stage to speak to us about redefining project portfolio management with OKRs. A round of applause for him, please.
Yesterday with the technology challenges, what I decided was that if I get here and it's not working, I will not talk. So the pressure is up there, not here. So it looks like we'll see who talks first. I can feel the pressure building up there. I have a thumbs up, but I don't see it here. Okay, I can see on my screen there. Good. All right. So when I got the invitation to speak here, I was filled with three main emotions, right? The first was of excitement. So I was excited, and I'm now not excited. My slides are not changing. I was, what's happening with this one? Right. So I was excited because I get to come back home and I get to hang out with my nephew and niece, right? And if you look at this picture closely, you can see that I used to have an afro, but I shaved it. And you can also see that I have just negotiated world peace. Eno is not very happy about it, but Nkunim looks very, very excited about it. Now, how many of you have kids or hang around kids? So you will know that kids ask a lot of questions, right? And that's something that I share with kids in my line of work. I do ask a lot of questions. So Eno asked me a question. She said, where do babies come from? And kids' questions, they are simple, but they are very, very hard to answer depending on the age they are at, the circumstance they are asking about it. So, cut a long story short, my answer was that Eno now thinks that if a boy kisses a girl, they make a baby. But apparently, the answer I should have given was that go and ask your mother or go and ask your father. So there's a question that I ask often, right, when I talk to organizations. And it's this one. Where do projects come from? I mean, you all have projects in your portfolios. You are part of, big project teams. But where do your projects come from? And usually when I ask this question, the first response I get is not even an answer. People go, Because it's a simple question, but it's not easy to answer. Because projects come from everywhere, right? And for many organizations, alignment of what they are doing or alignment of their strategy with what they have within their portfolios is still a very, very big problem. And this is not just, within our organizations in Ghana. Everywhere, Because remember, we use the same PM book, right? Everywhere in the world. So we have the same problems. So many organizations still find it difficult to align the projects they are running with what they are doing in terms of strategy. So I did an exercise, and I wanted to find out, within your portfolios, generally, what kind of projects are even there, right? And very interesting results. Projects that come from management briefs, these ones are easy. These ones, someone has sat down, done a business case, there's a steer code, there's funding, these ones are easy to run. They are, proper projects. Then you have roadmap projects. And these ones are problematic. They are problematic because you hired a consultant sometime 1999, and they gave you a roadmap to install Windows XP, and you are now running Windows XP because it was, you spent a lot of money on the consultant to give you that. So roadmap projects, you have those within your portfolios. Then I call these Netflix projects. Now, the Netflix projects, the reason why I call them Netflix projects is the project has either been successful, so we've successfully run the project, or it has failed, and we have sprung a new project to correct that. So, and I call them Netflix projects because there's an episode after episode of it. Every time we do a new episode of that same project. And those are within your portfolios as well. Then inherited projects. So yesterday, for instance, I was talking to Catherine, and she told me about some projects that she inherited. And you have those within your portfolios. You have inherited projects that you came to meet. Brainstorming projects, you meet with your team, you come up with an idea, something, and then you come up with a project, you run a project. You have town hall projects. These ones are annoying if you have them in your portfolio. Some executive was asked a question at the town hall, and he said, yeah, we are going to do X, Y, Z. And then it turns into a project. Nobody has thought about how we are going to fund it, who is going to be on that project, what's the steer code. He has just answered the question at the town hall, and it becomes a project, and it's your problem now. Then we have projects that are an obsession. Those projects are people, your boss came from another organization, right? And he ran a project there, and he insists you have to run that project here too. And they are obsessed. Or they have come to a conference like this, they've had an idea, and they go back, and we have to do that project some. Exactly, it's an obsession. Then you have Zusu projects. Those projects? It has everything some. This one project, we are building, we are training, I think yesterday in Tieko's presentation, she spoke about some NGOs that are spread too thin. They are doing everything. They are doing from agriculture to advocacy to, you have those projects in your portfolios where that one project is doing everything. So I call them the Zusu projects. Then pet or political projects. That project, go be, but you have to run it. Because there's a big organ that is pushing that project. And even if I don't go to the national level, I'm sure within your portfolios, you can find some pet projects that are part of your portfolios. Then you have MVP forever. So interestingly, the gentleman that presented earlier was talking about MVP, right? So MVP, you are trying out a concept to see whether it's viable. But this MVP has been running for 2 years. That is, not an MVP, the whole concept of an MVP. But they are in your portfolio, so they have been running forever, for about 2 years now. You have been doing MVP. Then you have accidental projects. Now we have accidental project managers. We have accidental projects. So some guy is in some corner doing his thing, and they are like, oh, this is a good thing. Let's run it as a project. It's by accident, and it's within your portfolios. Then you have compliance projects. So for instance, I remember when I used to work at UBA, that was when we were redenominating the city. So we had to do a project where we were dividing all our balances by 10,000 to get a new Ghana city. And those kind of projects, you can't escape them, right? It's coming from a regulator or from a higher up. Then this type of project, I call it Old Soldier Never Dies. These projects, they are in your portfolio, right? Every time you go, quarterly or monthly, they're always saying, oh, we just need to close that one risk and then it will go away. But every month, this same project comes up. So I call them Old Soldier Never Dies. That project, everybody agrees it should go away, but it doesn't go away because there's something to be done on those projects. Then we have something projects. An incident happens, and then we go, we have to do something about this. We have to do something about this. And that something turns into a project within your portfolios. And then you have, finally, competitor projects. So you see that with, for instance, the telcos, with financial services where, MTN is doing something and the other telecom looks at, look, they are doing that, let's do some. And they are doing competitor projects because the competitor is doing it. They are also doing it. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. I'm sure that you have different types of projects within your portfolios that come from all walks of life. Now, the point that I'm making is, what if there was a better way, right? What if I asked you, where do your projects come from? You could tell me straight away. You're not going to sigh. You're not going to go, And that's why I'm presenting to you OKRs. Now, someone made a joke that whether OKRs was missing an O, whether it was OKRs that I was trying to write and I missed an O, but this is not OKR. This is OKRs. Now, how many of you use OKRs at work? One? Or have heard about OKRs? Okay, so after today, when you hear OKR, you remember me. So OKRs is pretty much at the end of today, what I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to make you OKR experts. I don't want you to have all the answers to OKR. I don't even have all the answers to OKRs. What I'm trying to do is sow a seed in your mind today, looking at your portfolios, a different approach to redefining your portfolios using OKRs. So this is I just remember the second emotion I felt, right, when I got the invitation here. So I have a friend in Accra, and he was asking me, what are you presenting? I spoke about OKRs, and I explained the whole thing to him, end to end. And he said, Charlie, this thing don't go work for here. So I was dreading it, right? I was dreading presenting OKRs. But keep an open mind. I'm sowing a seed in your mind. When you go back, go and look at OKRs and what you can, elements of it that you can pick for your portfolios. So, what is an OKR, by the way? So the O stands for objective. And I'm going to explain it in very, very simple terms. So an objective, I'm sure everybody knows what an objective is. A place on the map that we say, on the 28th of July, we are going to be at Peninsula Resort. That's your objective. That's how we're going to get there. That's where we're going, a place on the map. And then you have your key results. So your key results tell you, how far are we going? Like, what are we doing? Are we near? We have to be there by 8. And if by this time we are still in Tamale, are we going to get there? So that's your key results. Then you have initiatives. Now initiatives, so this is where the project and portfolio management comes in. The initiatives is, how do we get there? We have an objective, we have key results, but how do we get there? And that's what I'm talking about, redefining your portfolios using this method. And instead of initiatives, we can then start with portfolios, for instance, with programs, with projects that are within your portfolios. So I did an image of this, and it doesn't show very well here, but I'm showing on the other screen. So, like I've said, we are in Accra, right? We want to get to Kumasi. That's the objective. Place on the map. Kumasi is 250 km away. Key result, we are in Nkoko, and it says we have done 140 km. So we know we have 110 to go. Pretty much that's it. So you have an objective, a place that you want to be at. You have key results. How do you know we are making progress towards it? And then you have initiatives. So how do we get there? So for instance, those are your projects. So for instance, if we want to get to Kumasi within the next 3 hours, we are better off with a plane. If we want to get there in 2 weeks, we can pretty much ride our bicycles. So that determines the type or sizes of projects that you come up with. So that is the anatomy of an OKR, an objective, key result, and then initiatives. And I want you to think about initiatives like your portfolios of work, your programs, your projects. Now, OKR is not new. You might not have heard of it, but many people use it. For instance, after you leave here and you go back, you find out that Google uses it, Microsoft uses it, all the regular examples that we can get. So OKR is not new. I mean, we have been setting goals since, what's the name of the guy? Noah, right? Where he built the ark so people can get in and avoid that. So we have goals. We have been, doing goals from a very, very long time. So OKRs are not new. They have been around. But what I am proposing to you is reimagine your portfolios, your programs of work with OKRs. Now, I'll go to my next slide, but I'll come back to this and talk about KPIs. Because immediately I mentioned OKRs, people go, what about KPIs? Are they the same thing? They are not yet. So what I'm saying, as an organization, you have your vision and mission. If you look there, BOST has a vision and mission, right? You have your vision. As an organization, why do you exist? You have your mission, your approach towards why you exist, and then you have your strategy. Now, this is where it gets exciting. Many of you within your portfolios, you already sort of use this in some format because you are usually delivering to your strategies, right? Now, out of that strategy, define your organizational objectives out of that strategy. Now, the objectives, today I'm not going to go into how you write like proper objectives. I actually have some examples that I'm going to show you that are not optimized, but if you start asking me questions about why it's not that, I know that I've hit the point because now you're thinking clearly about how the objectives should look like. Then you have an organizational objective, and then you have your key results. And then out of those, you now define for your projects, for your programs, how that relates directly up the chain. So there are some things that I'll say that might be controversial for you, but it's not. If you are running a project, right, that does not align to your strategy, stop. That does not align to your mission and vision. It's a waste of time. Just stop. I know that probably it's one of your pet projects, but it's not good for the organization. Everything that you do, and I think yesterday or with one of the presentations, a gentleman spoke about a cleaner at NASA talking about putting someone on the moon. Everything that you do in the organization has to really align to your vision and your mission, right? Everything. There are no exceptions. Everything that you do has to align to it. So if you are doing something that does not align to it, there's a lot of wastage in there. So, okay, this is my old slide, but I'll move on from now. So this is OKR. There are some OKR rules. I'll quickly go through this. The OKRs must be quantitative, they must be measurable. I think we already know this from SMART. We have been using SMART goals for our KPIs, all of that. Actually, I didn't talk about KPIs. So let me go back and tell you about KPIs and how they relate to OKRs. Now, the analogy I gave about objective, key result, initiative. Think about KPIs as the dashboard within your initiative, as the dashboard within the car, right? So you are within the car, and it's telling you have half tank, you are driving at 70 kilometers per hour, your air conditioning is at a particular degrees, outside temperature. Those are your key performance indicators within your car. So those are your KPIs, your dashboard. And you can see how different that is from OKRs. So OKRs is like a level up, and then KPIs are within your portfolios or your programs or within your projects. So I think that probably I've answered a question that someone was going to ask about KPIs and how that relates to OKRs. Now, OKRs have to be transparent. You cannot be sitting in the corner and doing some shady projects. So for instance, if you look at examples of organizations that have used OKRs, people have their OKRs printed by their desk. So you come in and ask this guy to do something for you, and he's looking at his OKR and thinking, where does this align to what I'm supposed to deliver, right? So the OKRs have to be transparent from the CEO down to the people on your project. So when a BA comes to work, he wakes up, comes to work, he has to know exactly what he's doing. He has to have his OKRs, and he should refuse to do anything that does not deliver his OKRs. Then OKRs have retrospectives, very similar to what we have been doing in, I usually don't want to mention Agile. What we have been doing in iterative delivery. We have been doing iterative delivery, and in iterative delivery, we have been doing retrospectives. So OKRs also have retrospectives where we are meeting and finding out, this thing that we said 3 months ago, does it even still make sense? What has happened? Should we change those? Then there's a timeline to it. So you cannot just run it in perpetuity. You can't do your MVP forever sort of approach. There has to be a timeline to your OKR. Weekly updates. Interestingly, I was having a conversation with a gentleman yesterday about remote work. And apparently there's a guy that was working remotely, supposed to be working remotely, and they called him and he said, oh, I'm at a funeral in my village and there's no light. What it is if this gentleman had an OKR, right, we'll be measuring him on that. But because we don't exactly know what he's supposed to be doing at what point in time, he is, in the free zone. He's just doing whatever works for him. So if you have OKRs, we are looking at your weekly updates and seeing how much progress that you are making towards your targets. It's easy to manage. And then one major thing that OKRs brings is alignment. It really aligns your vision, mission, strategy, objectives, key results, and then you have your objectives, key results on your projects, your portfolios, your programs of work. This one too is controversial. Your OKRs have to be ambitious. If you meet your OKRs 100%, you are doing it wrong. If you meet your OKRs 100%, you are doing it wrong. It has to be ambitious. And I know people don't like doing that because I think we've been traumatized by HR with KPIs. You have to meet the target, otherwise you're not getting bonus. OKRs are aiming for something big, and if we don't hit the moon, we hit the sky or something in between there. So OKRs have to be really ambitious. They have to be flexible. And I think, many speakers here have said today, when we review them, so when we go into our sessions, we go into our retrospectives, we go into our weekly updates, we need to be able to change the OKRs if circumstances have changed. If our environment has changed, we have to be able to adapt and change our OKRs as well. And there are sizes of what you should define. So yesterday, someone said something very interesting. Apparently, there are places where project managers are managing 40 projects. 40. Why? With OKRs, you have to have a particular number. What happens is you need to focus, right? As an organization, you need about 5 to 6 objectives. And for each objective, you need about 4 or 5, key results. What that helps you with is it helps you to keep focused. So if you are in an organization where the maturity is not there, you are doing too many things. And sometimes you are repeating it. People are doing the same thing as you in another department. They are doing the same thing as you in another unit or even within your own team. People don't have clarity on what's going on. So using OKRs, you can then see that this is what we are doing. That's how it aligns to it. And there's clarity. There's no duplicate work. People are actually working at an optimized level rather than doing so many things. So I've already gone over this, but I'll tell you again. So when you remember OKR, we are talking about a vision for your organization, which is always there. Then you have a mission, which changes maybe 5, 10 years. Then you have your strategy. These days, strategies change very often. So let's say a year, 2, maybe that's even too long. Then you have your management OKR, which you set them every 3 to 4 months. And depending on the maturity that you are in terms of implementing OKRs, this can also be longer. You know, the one size does not fit all, right? Even, previously we were talking about PMO maturity. Things that we find, resources, for instance, that PMI provides, they are not rules, they are guidelines. So for your organization, probably if you want to start with 6-month cycles instead of 3 to 4, just so you shape the way that you're going about it, that will work. And then you can have your portfolio OKR and then your programs project, and you guys are across that because you have been doing this for a very, very long time. Similar sort of thing. This is just blown up other levels. So the OKR cycle, we have your weekly meetings where you are checking in with the team. How is your OKR going? We are not waiting for, 6 months down the line to find out that that project is going left. We are checking in often. We review the OKR, find out whether it's still even relevant. Then we use the lessons. This is, usually organizations tend to think that they are mature. Do you know why? And the PMO guys will not like me for saying this. The PMO, they are their own police. You are your own police. You look at your own maturity and say, I am X or Y, right? Now, a matured PMO, a matured project office uses the lessons learned from previous projects to improve the new ones. If you're not doing that, you're lying to yourself. You're not that mature. You have to be able to use the feedback from your previous projects to, start new ones. And then when the cycle ends in your 3 to 4 month, you define a new OKR. Now, I've been told that I don't have enough time, but I'll continue this. So OKR and Scrum, what are the differences? So think OKR, higher level, Scrum within your projects, right? OKR, 3 to 4 months. Scrum, you are going 1 to 2 week sprints. OKR, you are looking at objectives. Scrum, you are looking at objective for a particular project. So there are some key differences there. OKR is a bit higher than your regular Scrum. Now, these are the examples that I spoke about that I need someone to chase me and say that these are not smart objectives. That way I know that my talk has landed somewhere. So for instance, let's look at a personal OKR. I want to be able to run 10Ks under 50 minutes by 30th August. That's my objective. I want to be able to run a marathon 10Ks under 50 minutes by 30th August. What are my key results? The key results, how do I get there? And how I get there is I go for a run 3 times a week for at least 30 minutes. This is going to help me get there, right? And then what else? Well, another key result is I increase the distance run by 1 kilometer every week. So every week I add 1 kilometer to it. So when I check in with myself or whoever I'm checking in with, we check whether I was able to add 1 kilometer every week to it. We are not waiting for, marathon day and we find out that we can't even run that far. So OKRs, again, by the time you leave here, you have OKR sounding in your head. You have your mission, vision, you have your company OKRs, and then you have your projects or initiatives that are delivering that. So think about OKRs. OKRs are more aligning you to your strategy, and then you have your initiatives that are projects or portfolios that deliver those. And there are several benefits to it. So I've spoken about a lot of these already: strategic alignment, focused execution, and then you have engaged employees. Remember, one of the mega trends that was presented was a shortage of PMI skills, for instance. if you want people to stay, you want people to be happy, they turn up to work, they know exactly what they are doing. They are not being micromanaged. You can use OKRs. So people turn up. For the next 3 to 4 months, they know what we are working on. It's not every day that we are checking in, seeing what, we have a new thing that is coming in. Now, what can you expect from running an OKR? So I've spoken about some of these, but I wanted to jump to my final slide to talk about something that happened to me. When I got my first proper job, right, I bought a car, my first car. And my first car was an Opel Corsa, 1.2 liter. It was fantastic. I wish I had that car now with the, petrol prices. And when you buy your first car, it usually comes with a mechanic, right? They give you the car, they say, this is the mechanic that comes with the car. And the mechanic that came with my car is Isa. And I call Isa more than I call my mom. We are always weekly checking in. He knows everything about the car and the things that we need to change on the car. So I met Isa recently, and he was in a wrong part of town. That's not where his shop is. And so I started talking to him and I said, what happened? What are you doing here? And he said, I've changed jobs. I was like, okay, so what do you do now? And he started explaining to me what he does. And he said, look, I work in an open office. My office we have standing desk in our office. And I'm thinking, this is a very innovative, place. And there's lots of people in my office. And it's noisy. And I'm thinking, where does this guy work? And he says, sometimes too, it's smelly. I don't know how many people want to work in such an office. Then he said, for my work, the best days in the office, Christmas Day, Easter, and Salah. And I'm thinking, what is this guy talking about? With all the things that he's described, that's not a place that I want to work at. And then he finally told me that he works at the abattoir. The point I'm making is organizational culture is contextual. Within your organization, there might be something that you're doing that works for you. It will not work at another place. Respect the culture in your place and work around those. And I believe many people have spoken about culture today. So that's what I'm leaving you with, that respect the culture that you have within your organizations, work around those to bring in new initiatives, to bring in new changes that you have. So that brings me to the final emotion that I felt, when I got the invitation, I was grateful to be able to come here and share all this with you. Thank you.
Mr. Paul Oppong, thank you very much. Can we have some questions from you? But before that, let's check online. Do we have questions and comments from online? All right, so we don't have that. So let me find out from you whether you have some questions from him. Anybody at all?
I will not leave until I have a question from MTN.
No, she's not around. Emanuela is not around. So, once she's not around, we have to figure out who would be the next person to get us a question. So, there's a gentleman actually beside Emanuela. So, let me find out whether he's got a question. Oh, I thought she passed on the baton to you. Okay.
Interesting perceptions. Thank you. It's been going around I think you enlisted a couple of those. Difference between Scrum and OKRs. Okay, so an organization who is into Scrum, okay, how does that organization link it with a practice of OKRs? How do the two connect? Thank you.
Right, thank you. So you are right. Scrum, so think of OKRs one step further from what you are doing in terms of Scrum. So for Scrum, you have your sprints, right? And within your sprints, you have, for instance, user stories. And once you pack those up for your sprints, you don't change them. You might put in a stretch goal, or you might put in a stretch user story, and then you pick those up. So Scrum, for instance, is rigid within that sprint. You're not going to change it. OKRs are a bit flexible. OKRs are your targets. Scrum is the delivery, is the execution. That's how we are getting there, getting to those objectives. So for instance, if you have an organization that uses Scrum, you can still use OKRs. It's a matter of saying that, okay, this is the objective that we are going to get to. Even within your sprints, you have sprint objectives. So those sprint objectives could link to the project objective. So the OKR for the project. Your sprint objective could link to that. So there are two different things, but they are, all helping you to deliver your project.
Okay, I'm Hester from MTN as well. I want to ask from your experience in implementing OKRs. As you're reading the examples of the results and everything, and you even gave an example of the person who was doing remote work and you cannot measure. What comes to my mind is the fact that we'll be held accountable than we are used to, right? So my question to you is, in the implementation of OKRs in organizations or with teams, how have you overcome such barriers? Where, we have to be a bit more specific as to where we want to be, and the acceptance, and how have you overcome it?
Thank you. When we are held more accountable, right? Initially we are afraid, but it gives us a lot of freedom. If you know the 2 or 3 things that you are supposed to do for the week, you are not afraid of your boss's call because you've hit those targets. So I'll say, don't be afraid of the accountability. Allow for the transparency. When it's transparent, it gives you that freedom because you know exactly what you are being measured against. I don't know whether I've answered it, but pretty much embrace the transparency. If everybody knows what you are working on, nobody can show up at your desk with some random request for something that is not within your, OKRs. Hopefully.
All right, let me take a question from online. Can you refer any reading material on OKRs? Very interesting perception, thanks. And that's once again coming from Josephine Akoto Bamfo.
Google.com.
Google.com. Okay, so
there
you go. Let me take a question from here.
Wow, thank you. My name is Kojo, and I'm also part of the MTN train.
Excellent.
Very interesting perspectives. Very, very, very interesting. Thank you so much. How do we ensure that this doesn't become a micro-managing tool, right? Because we want to get employees to buy into the strategy, into the vision, and then take ownership. But how do we make sure that, beside all of this, it doesn't become a micromanagement tool? Thank you so much.
Thank you. And, like I said, we have all been traumatized by HR with their KPIs. OKRs, don't use them for performance management. OKRs are not for performance management. Like I told you, if you hit 100%, you are doing something wrong. They are not ambitious enough. You don't want to be measured with OKRs, right? So whatever we use to measure performance within the organization, we can keep getting traumatized by HR with something else. But don't use OKRs for performance management because that's not what it is for. So pretty much what I'm proposing is using OKRs for your project. Now, there are some things that come out of it that are outputs of it. So if in the organization we have defined our vision, mission, the management OKRs, and on the projects we know what we are working on, by default, some questions go away. Someone cannot give you some bad performance review because you have evidence. There's data to back you up. So I would say don't use OKRs for performance management, but once you step into the OKR world, it does take away some questions and some annoying stuff from HR and your manager.
All right, let me go to the back.
Hi, thank you very much for your presentation. My name is Atu Wilson from Boston. I think earlier on somebody quoted Peter Drucker saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And in your presentation, you were saying that in implementing the OKRs, you need to work around the culture. How are you able to marry the two? Because if you're not able to deal with the culture, then it would definitely eat the OKR strategy for breakfast. So if you can throw more light on that. Thank you.
So culture, right, is very important, and I like that Peter Drucker quote. What I'm saying is respect the culture, but the culture has to change, right? I mean, let's take any institution that we have in Ghana. You know, we usually bash police, right, saying that they are, you know, doing things that they are not supposed to do. If we want to change the police, how do we do it? You know, if we look at the solution, we go, this is too hard. But we have to start from somewhere. So the culture will exist, but we have to start from a corner somewhere. That's how we make change. If we look at the big picture, it might look daunting, and you might be discouraged, but we have to pursue, we have to push on. Because if your projects are failing, if things are not working for you, and you think because of culture, you're going to keep doing the things that you're doing, you will get the same results. So I know what you're talking about. I know the pain. If the culture is everybody, you know, some people, I remember when I used to work in one company, there was a guy that they said that when you go and ask him for something, immediately you get there, he says, the answer is no. What's your question? There are some people that don't like change, and you will meet a lot of that, you know, frustration. But it's about, if you are doing something within your team, right? Let's say that even for your organization, at the very top, people don't buy into it. If you do something within your team and the results are coming out, people come and find out what's happening here, what's happening in this corner. And that's how you create change. So, like I said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So if you want to do it, you can start in your small corner. People will come and ask you, what are you doing so well? How come your projects are delivering? How come, you know, things are working as they are supposed to? So culture, respect the culture, but don't let the culture be a barrier to new things.
Thank you very much. And thanks for the presentation. I would also like to find out, you know, if I want to do something in Agile, at least I know MTN is doing it, I can quickly run to William and ask, William, I have a problem, how do I go about this? Around us, which companies are using OKRs? If you could throw more light on that so that I have an idea where to run to in case I'm in trouble. Thank you.
So, you know, this was the one that I was afraid of where they said, this thing will not work here. This will work here. Remember, like I said, we use the same PM book, right? When you look online, I've seen some organizations that are working in Africa that are using OKRs, but I can't give you examples in Ghana. Maybe we can start with your company. We could be the first to have examples. But if you look online and you look at the material that's there are many, many organizations that are using OKR. Like I said, it's not new. It's something that already exists. People are doing it. They are getting the benefits of it. You realize that we have been talking about, 50% of projects fail. How long have we been saying that? Even as PMI, we are saying, 50% of projects fail. 70% of construction projects fail. What's going on? We have to think differently in certain areas, right? And how thinking differently means trying new techniques. The other 50% that are failing, how do we make them better? And it could be OKR.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Oppong. A round of applause for him for the last time. Thank you. All right, so Mr. Paul Oppong, please don't go. You still have to be on stage. We've got a gift for you. And I'd like to call on the PMI chapter president right here in Ghana, Ms. Jumoke Lafenwa, to do the presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Oppong. And permit me to use the OKRs for my announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening at 7 p.m., where are we going? Come again. I'm using OKR. Oh, you don't believe what I'm telling you. Mr. Oppong, is that not what I'm using? This is my destination, and I'm asking you, where are we coming to? Right here for the Excellence Awards. Please don't miss this. It's going to be a great evening for all of us. Let us all come, join in, have a wonderful time here, acknowledge and celebrate those that are going to pick awards, and let's have a good time here before we all go back to our various homes or workplaces. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let me also acknowledge our well-deserving sponsors for this very conference. It's 2 days of wonderful things that's happening to us when it comes to project management. And I'd like to acknowledge our platinum sponsors. That is the Project Management Institute. A round of applause for them. Project Management Institute, Ghana. Bost is also in the house. A round of applause for them. TV3. 3FM 92.7. And then our gold sponsors, MTN. Oh, I thought you were all going to respond to the normal slogan. MTN. Thank you very much. JSE Security Systems Limited. Afrisans. A round of applause for them. And the event is being powered by Eagle Eye. Eagle Eye is the event coordinator for this event. Let's give them a round of applause. They're doing very well, regardless of the technicalities. It happens all the time, but we are okay with what is going on. All right, so we are quickly going to give our technicians a little bit of time for them to get something ready, because we're about to go into the break away section. That's what we're going to go into right now. Just like we did yesterday, I would pose 2 questions, and then whichever one you get to choose, I'll let you know whether you're going to go to the other side. 50 people are the number to go there, and then the rest of us will stay here, and we'll have someone to lead us per the title topic that we're going to discuss right here. So let's just have a spot of music from the sound man as we wait for the technicians to get things ready so that we can start. Thank you.